Hey everyone and welcome back to Sin's Gaming Channel. Today I did some more conclusive testing about the age-old, transport fever question. What is better? Direct lines, meaning A to B and back, and B to C and back, and so on, or long lines with many stops. In this example, A to B to C, to back to B and back to A. I did a couple of tests with different setups and different lines, but always in the same age and on the same track with the same cities, same distance, same population, everything the same. So first setup was with slow trains, simply having one train on one line going from A to B and back, and one train on line 2 going to B, from B to C and back, versus then two trains going from A to B to C and then back to B and A. This was probably the least conclusive result, and it ended up with only a difference of around 10% in favor of the two lines versus one line. That being said, it was measured on a one-track setup, meaning the two trains in the second test, they had sometimes to wait a little bit on each other in the middle station. So the 10% could very well be from that waiting time. Now, however, the second test was more conclusive. We doubled the train, and the trains and the difference between the two suddenly jumped to about a third. Yes, two short lines made over 5 million, while the one big line made only about 3.7. And this was done on a double track setup, so there was no waiting time for trains this time. So that was quite a difference. So I changed a little bit, thought maybe we add the so-called express train, meaning that we have the small lines, direct lines A to B and B to C, and we add one trains from A to C and back. So I had one train for each of the small lines and two trains for the long line. Now that was a failure. It almost made no money. The maintenance cost ate up almost all of the profit, and it really ended in disaster. So do not try this at home. But it gave me an idea. How about using faster trains? So I reused my two direct lines and one express line, but I changed out the two trains for one faster train for about the same cost on the express one. The result was nobody wanted to use the slow trains anymore. Yes, basically almost nobody was using the trains from A to B and B to C. The A to C was almost full all the time, but not the ones between. So I gave it another try. I sold the two remaining slow trains and bought another fast train, and now I just let the line from A to C. So A to C and back with two fast trains, and that was the winner so far, the one that had made the most money, bar none. It made over 10 million in the same amount of time, and again, this was with the same amount of money invested, even less actually, because the one fast train cost less than two slow trains. So that is another thing. And yeah, it absolutely won. And it's especially interesting because then after this I tried another one, having set up two direct lines like the first test, but with fast trains. So one fast train on the A to B and one fast train from B to C. And that actually made about 20% less money than the previous setup from A to C with the two trains. Which is interesting, makes the result even more impressive is, I think, that I skipped an entire city. With the long line I made more money. So two cities made more money than three cities. That's quite interesting. So anyway, from this short test, I took this conclusion that speed and distance play a role in the equation. Faster isn't always better, and further isn't always better either. Slow trains should be used on simple and short 1-2 lines, meaning A to B and back, and the faster the train is, the longer you want to make its line. Also, from what I've seen, multiple stop lines don't work, or at best less profitable than direct lines. They probably still have their use and are easier to maintain, but generally speaking they will make less money than direct lines. So the best setup from what I've seen so far is to have short lines with short, slow trains for city to city business and faster trains for region to region. Again, the faster the train is, the faster and longer the train is, the further you want to send it away. The slower the train is, the shorter you want to have the distance it travels. Because at some point, the thing is that the slow train, he can make money on short tracks, on short lines, but the further it travels, the more it costs, and the less it will recoup from income. And there's a Goldilocks zone at some point where you simply cannot make more money than it costs. You have to find it out yourself, but generally short lines for slow trains and long lines for fast trains. Then, I think so the best setup from what I've seen so far is, well, alternatively you can also set up buses or trams in between cities and only make long lines with fast trains between cities further apart, because that seems to work quite well. Of course, if you start in 8050, then you are kind of obligated to use the slow trains anyway, but you only should make direct lines from A to B and back and not try to connect several cities with one line. And alternative, you can always use buses or trams later on as well to replace trains altogether in between two cities that are too close together, because you don't want to use slow trains all the time, because you have to remember that slow trains, they will use mostly the same tracks than your fast trains. So if you have different trains with different speeds on the same line, that will clog up the business, and you have to make passengers special for the fast trains and whatever, which will cost a lot more money. So keep it simple, and that's probably the best advice I can give, is keep it simple. So anyway, that's for me. I hope I could help a bit, and please don't take anything here for 100% correct. This was done using only 2 different types of trains, only 3 cities set up, and a very limited amount of time. So it's just first glance kind of results. So it might very well look different once you add more cities. Faster trains, better trains, stronger trains, we can get more wagons, bigger cities who are developed and all this. But yeah, that's just the first glance. In the first glance, use the small trains, slow trains, direct lines, faster trains for longer lines. So anyway, thanks for watching, and please like, share and subscribe. I can use all the support I can get to make this channel grow, and I wish you a nice day.